Dying Light is one of the most iconic games ever made, with beautiful graphics and amazing gameplay mechanics. But the game is quite old now, so let's find out if the game is still worth buying today. But in case you've never seen the game before, it is a first-person action survival game set in a vast overworld environment that has been completely overrun by a zombie outbreak. You play as an agent, and you are sent into a quarantine city, and you must navigate this dangerous world. Your ultimate goal is therefore to survive, uncover the truth behind the entire outbreak, and make critical decisions that will determine the fate of all the survivors you encounter. The world of Dying Light is dangerous and immersive, filled with both dangerous undead but also hostile human factions. What you'll also notice is that the game is almost split up in two different sections. You have the day and night cycles. So by the day, you'll scavenge for supplies, craft weapons, while dealing with slower, less threatening zombies. However, at nightfall, the game becomes way more intense and terrifying. The zombies become faster, stronger, and more aggressive. And this day and night cycle is one of the most unique features of the entire game, and will require a good level of strategic thinking in order to survive. But in terms of the main gameplay, it is a good combination of exploration, combat, crafting, and survival. You spend a lot of your time just scavenging for resources, crafting weapons and items, completing missions, and fighting off zombies and other humans. The game is also clearly designed to cater to fans of action adventure and survival horror, with a good mix of fast-paced combat and dynamic movement systems. What you'll also notice is that the gameplay mechanics start off fairly basic, but then become way more advanced as you progress. So in the early game, you'll have access to more simple weapons like pipes and boards, and your combat skills are fairly limited. However, as you gain experience and level up, you'll unlock new skills in three main areas: survivor, agility, and power. These skill trees will focus on different aspects of the game. This could be the crafting, survival, or the ability to craft more powerful weapons. So as you can imagine, the replayability is really high, primarily due to the game's open world design, varied mission types, but also the evolving challenge of the day-night cycle. The game even includes co-op mode if you want to team up with your friends, adding another layer of enjoyment and strategy. So overall, the gameplay mechanics work quite well together to create a quite tense experience. There's a good balance between exploration, combat, and survival, combined with a very dynamic day-night cycle and a deep crafting system, which ensures there's always something new to discover and learn. And that brings me to my next point, the game's progression system. So as I mentioned before, in the early game, you'll start with the most basic skills, simple weapons, and very limited resources. Furthermore, the first few missions will also serve as a tutorial to help you get accustomed to the game's mechanics. This could be the combat and even the crafting. So at this stage, the enemies are also way slower, and you'll be mainly focused on scavenging for resources, assisting other survivors, and just learning to navigate the city. However, as you progress, you'll gain a ton of experience points by completing missions, engaging in combat, and performing parkour moves. And these experience points, of course, allow you to level up in your three main skill trees. However, as you advance even further, the game becomes way more challenging. The zombies become stronger and more numerous, and you'll even encounter new enemy types, including way more aggressive humans, but also terrifying nighttime zombies. Additionally, the missions also become way more complex, requiring you to make strategic decisions and adapting to the changing circumstances. And then all the way by the end game, you'll have access to the most powerful weapons, advanced movement skills, and a great variety of crafting recipes that allow you to fully customize your approach to different situations. So the overall progression system will take you from a relatively weak and vulnerable survivor to an incredible fighter with the best tools. The storyline is also a big part of the game, as it revolves around you infiltrating a city to recover sensitive information. However, as you get to know the survivors and learn more about the situation, your objectives become way more complicated. So as you can tell, the main storyline will drive the game forward, with key missions that reveal more about the outbreak, all the factions fighting for control, and the truth behind the virus. And while the story does provide good structure, there's also plenty of room for you to explore on your own. Another key feature is the exploration in an open world environment. The entire city kind of serves as your playground, where the map is very large and varied, with many different districts. This could be the slums, industrial areas, and an even more modern cityscape. What you'll notice is that the game is designed to encourage you to explore every nook and cranny. So whether you're searching for supplies, hunting for hidden collectibles, or simply enjoying the freedom of movement, the exploration is a massive part of it. Now you might think with all these systems that the game is super hard, but that is actually not the case. And that brings me to the next point, the game's difficulty. And it's actually quite well balanced, both for the new player but also more experienced. Now the game won't hold your hand too much, but it does provide basic guidance in the beginning to help you understand the mechanics. But you are quickly thrown into the deep end, where you must learn through trial and error. So for the new players, the early stages of the game are designed to be more manageable, with the slower and less aggressive zombies, so you can really get a feel for the controls, the combat, and parkour system. However, as you progress further into the game, the difficulty ramps up significantly. For example, at night, the game becomes way more dangerous, with faster, stronger zombies, and even the enemy type volatiles, which are incredibly dangerous creatures that can easily overwhelm you, where even the most experienced player can be caught off guard by them. So as you can tell, the game's difficulty difficulty is primarily influenced by the game's dynamic day-night cycle, and of course, your own skill level. And honestly, the game strikes a pretty good balance between accessibility for new players, but also challenging content for the more experienced ones. However, all players will have something massive in common, and that is the need to learn from trial and error, where the game highly encourages you to learn from mistakes, adapt to changing situations, and constantly improve on your own skills. So whether you're a more casual player who mostly just enjoys exploring and crafting during the day, or if you're more hardcore gamer who really enjoys the challenging gameplay at nighttime, this game will offer something for everyone. Now, let's talk about the game's graphics, sound, and atmosphere. And as you can tell by this video, the graphics are still pretty decent, even for a quite old game now. The environments are detailed, anywhere from the crumbling buildings to the cluttered streets. And while it might not be the most realistic graphics, it really helps in creating a realistic but also immersive world. And if you're a nerd like me, you'll also notice how the lighting effects really help the game out, and especially during the transition from day to night, adding a ton of tension and making the game feel more alive. The sound design is equally as impressive, with really good atmospheric sound effects that really enhance the overall sense of danger. This could be the growls of zombies, the distant screams, or the quiet sounds of footsteps echoing around you. Furthermore, the music is also tense and haunting, and quite perfectly matches the mood of the game. So together, the graphics, the sound, and music create an atmosphere that is both immersive but also unsettling, that really pulls you into the game world, and are honestly key elements, making the gameplay way more immersive. But of course, the game is not perfect, and there are several pros and cons that we must cover. The first pro has to be the very dynamic parkour system. This is honestly one of the game's biggest strengths, with very fluid and exciting movement, where you can really navigate the city with ease, making exploration really fun and adding a ton to the gameplay. And it's also very unique in the overall game genre, as you don't see this kind of movement system often. The next pro is the very intense and dynamic day-night cycle, and it creates a really constantly shifting challenge, where during the day you can explore and complete missions more safely, but then at night the game becomes way more intense and dangerous, and can honestly be a lot of fun if you enjoy survival horror. The next pro is the crafting system, and it is honestly quite robust crafting system, where you can really create and modify your weapon to suit your own playstyle. And the final pro has to be the immersive atmosphere. The sheer combination of detailed graphics, the atmospheric sound design, and the haunting music really pulls you into the game world, making it feel alive but also constantly threatening. And now for the cons. The first con has to be the somewhat repetitive missions. So the further you progress into the game, you will notice that the mission structure is quite repetitive over time, with many quests involving similar objectives, like scavenging for supplies or clearing out certain enemies. And this repetition can be quite annoying at times, and I would prefer a bit more varied gameplay. The next con is the difficulty spike. So while the very dynamic day-night cycle is overall a positive thing, it does also mean that the difficulty spike at night is quite large, which can definitely be frustrating for newer or more casual players, where the increased aggression and strength of zombies might be really overwhelming. And the final con is this somewhat weak storyline. So this might just be my personal take, and while I do think the story is overall pretty decent, it is just not as compelling as I'd like. And I would have loved for a more deep but also character-driven plot. And I wouldn't say you play this game overall for the story, but more for the storyline combined with the exploration part, as the exploration and combat system are by far the biggest aspects of the game. So with all that said, let's grade the game. And Dying Light gets a solid 8 out of 10, and for several reasons. First is a very unique gameplay, the very immersive atmosphere, and the very unique combination of parkour and survival horror elements. Furthermore, the very dynamic day-night cycle really keeps you on your edge, offering a really good blend of exploration during the day and intense survival at night. The fluid parkour system is a standout feature, where you can really navigate this open world in any way you see fit. Additionally, the crafting system is also quite good, giving you a ton of freedom to create and customize your weapon to suit your exact playstyle. However, the game does have several drawbacks. The mission structure can become repetitive over time, and while the storyline is decent, it does lack a bit of depth and emotional pull that could have really elevated the game even further. Additionally, the difficulty spike at night can be really frustrating for newer or more casual player, as it goes from quite easy during the day to really intense at night. But in conclusion, if you're a fan of survival horror games with a really good action adventure twist to it, Dying Light is a great game for you, where the combination of parkour, really intense and great gameplay, and a deep crafting system makes the game truly stand out. And if you enjoy exploring open worlds and battling tons of zombies, this game is honestly perfect for you, and it's absolutely worth your time and money, as it is honestly a really great game as long as you know what to expect. For more amazing games, click here.